course, President Obama not making any distinction, if you listen there, between immigration and illegal immigration. And many states were involved in this, including Arizona, one of the states that joined in this amnesty suit. Attorney General Mark Brnovich is here with his reaction. Mark, 4-4 tie. I think there was some surprise, particularly earlier. There was a big victory for the administration when it came to affirmative action. What's your assessment of the ruling, and where do we go from here?
Well, I think that upholding the rule of law and the separation of powers in our countries is such a fundamental principle that I'm very happy with today's decision, i.e. that the Fifth Circuit's injunction is upheld. But it does concern me that even 4 justices were willing to basically say that the president can act as a king or the president can act unilaterally and basically rewrite our immigration laws. That's very, very troubling. And that's why this election is so important. So I agree with the president that he's not an emperor, he's not a king, he can't unilaterally rewrite the law, and that this election matters.
It's interesting, though. He may not be able to rewrite the laws, but he can certainly have sort of control how they're implemented, because he said more than once that essentially what they're going to do is that all of the people who are affected by this ruling probably shouldn't worry about being deported, that the focus by the administration would be, to his words, on criminals, gangbangers, and new arrivals. So that sort of wink-wink stuff, doesn't that make the immigration problem even worse? Isn't that still something of a red carpet saying, hey, still try your best, get in here illegally, because once you do, we're going to keep trying to make you legal one way or the other?
Look, I'm a former federal prosecutor, so no one understands this issue better than I do. Not only as a former federal prosecutor, but as someone that's a product of immigration. But the reason why my family, fled communism and why so many of the folks that I know left their countries was because the United States is about the rule of law. The law means something. The president, no person is above the law, and no person can unilaterally write the law. We may be frustrated with Congress. I mean, obviously, Washington, D.C. is a place where a lot of good ideas go to die. And we are frustrated that immigration policy isn't moving in maybe the direction some of us want. But that doesn't mean that the president gets to unilaterally rewrite the law. As far as his prosecutorial discretion, I understand that. But what the president tried to do here was about more than just prosecutorial discretion. What he tried to do was grant legal status, legal presence to millions of people in the country. And that is something different than deciding priorities as to who will or won't be prosecuted or who will or won't be deported. What he tried to do is create a whole new class of legal immigrants.
Mark, we talked, you've mentioned the law, the rule of law, and you've also mentioned, your background as an immigrant, which coincides with the overall majority of Americans. Some of the people that were impacted by this have been in this country for many, many years. They probably came here, the president says, as children. Should there ever be a consideration for a statute of limitations? We know they broke the law coming here illegally, but a lot of laws in our country that are broken, you have a certain amount of time that you can be punished for them. Should that kind of thinking, or could that kind of thinking ever be applied to people who have been here, let's say, 10 years or more, lawfully not breaking the laws, and if they do indeed think they're Americans, like the president said, in every respect except on paper, should there be consideration there?
Look, Charles, I'm not a policymaker. I'm a prosecutor, and my job is to enforce the law. And as I said, so many of my relatives, my mother, they left countries where one person got to unilaterally change the laws however they wanted. That's not what America's about. So I do think Congress needs to get its act together, and they need to sit down and create a comprehensive system where, indeed, people can get out of the shadows. One of the problems with the president's action is that once there's a new election or there's a new president, they can unilaterally keep changing these laws. And the issue today may be immigration, but you may have a president in the future that you may not like that unilaterally rewrites our tax code or rewrites policies with social issues.
And to that point, I think he hinted that there will be some executive action soon on climate change and other things. Mark Brnovich, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.
All righty.